What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Happy Victory Monday, ladies and gents. Hopefully, you all had a fantastic weekend. If you are a green and gold fan, you are probably still living it up right now. But appreciate you making us a part of your start on this rather frigid start to your Monday morning, January 15th, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Appreciate you tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from, whether it's on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. You got your Google and Alexa home devices. Sports Talk app, video stream also up and rolling. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Don't need no introduction. We don't need to know what's on the game plan for us here this morning, man, because I think you all know the majority of part what we're talking. It was a good day yesterday. I know maybe if you were still celebrating the Packers win from last night there, don't forget, or I should say you might have missed it. Dame time. Damian Lillard also hit a walk-off three-pointer in overtime. Not bad distance either there, but as time expired, hits that three to get the victory for the Bucks last night. So nice nightcap, if you will, for a pretty awesome day yesterday in Wisconsin sports. But definitely going to be chatting green and gold throughout as the Packers dominating victory. Although maybe got a little bit nervous there towards the end because it's like, all right, got a little too relaxed there. But nonetheless, a dominating victory for the green and gold yesterday. 48-32 at one point, led 48-16 in the fourth quarter. Jordan Love, nearly a perfect game, would have been the first quarterback in NFL history in his first career postseason start to have a perfect quarterback rating, but that drop pass by Tucker Kraft at the end kind of took that away. Nonetheless, Jordan Love finished for 272 and 3 touchdowns. Aaron Jones loves running in his home state of Texas, and especially when it comes to Jerry World down there. 118 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Romeo Doubs keeping the tradition alive the last couple weeks. Another receiver going over 100 yards, a $151 for him with a touchdown. And let's not forget Darnell Savage with the pick six. Jair Alexander with the pick deep in Dallas's own territory. So next up for the Packers, in case you missed it last night, they will be playing Saturday night. Okay, Saturday night, 7:15 on Fox against the one-seeded San Francisco 49ers, the team that's kind of given some fits and bugaboos to the Packers the last couple years in the postseason. There, do the Packers have another one in them where they can go to the West Coast and somehow upset the San Francisco 49ers with their offense? Packers offense plays like they've been playing right now. Holy moly. But where do you even want to begin with this game from yesterday? There's so much to break down. There's so much to talk about this thing. From the kickoff, Matt LaFleur again channeling his inner Matt Hasselbeck, saying, we want the ball and we're going to score. Takes the ball, scores down right the field. First drive, opening drive. You couldn't ask for a more perfect, a better drive than to take that thing in their house. Be like, no, we're going to take it. Where it's going to be loud right away, right? Home team's defense going to be on the field right away. They're going to be loud right away. You can't ask for a more perfect drive to go 12 plays, 75 yards, nearly 8 minutes, and come away with a touchdown. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And then your defense goes out there and holds them to a punt, just 27 yards. Green Bay did punt, but then the Jair Alexander and Green Bay capitalizes 3 plays later with another touchdown. There to go up 14-0. In fact, going 27-7.5. Looked like maybe they were going to shut them out at the half there. But then you go into the third quarter. You're opening up. Cowboys get the ball. You're thinking, at least I thought, big drive to open up this series. Don't let the Cowboys gain any sort of momentum. Don't do it. Well, they hold them to a field goal there. And what does Green Bay do? 5 plays later, they just go up and score another touchdown. Just go down there and score up another touchdown. Running game was clicking. Passing game was clicking. Matt LaFleur, again, sure seemed like he was one step ahead of his old boss, Dan Quinn, in terms of play calling, keeping everybody on their heels. I mean, you had dudes that were running wide open, whether it was Luke Musgrave or Romeo Dobbs, Jordan Love threading some needles to Romeo in the end zone, and Dontavian Wicks. I mean, goodness gracious. Daniel Awala, let's give some love to the punter, too, even 3 punts down inside the 10-yard line there. But, man, just a butt kicking and a half. Butt kicking and a half for the green and gold yesterday afternoon. So glad I got that pick wrong. You know what? I'll just keep the tradition going. I'm going to, you know what? Maybe I'll just pick San Francisco just so they can prove me wrong again. Don't change it. I'm superstitious. Keep it going here. But, man, what I almost want to ask, like, what surprised you the most out there? But I mean, there's a lot of things that really stood out yesterday. So, but we'll talk plenty of green and gold. Start to hit me up. We had a few of you already chiming in with some texts early on this morning. But if you hadn't had a chance, hit us up with a text, 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line this morning on this Victory Monday. We'll warm up today's frigid temperatures, talking some green and gold. Plenty of Packers talk coming up here. We will throw in little hoops in here too because of the Bucs win from last night with Dame time. That last second, I shouldn't say last second, there was no time remaining after he hit that long distance 3 to pick up the W. Badger hoops picked up another win, squeaking by Northern. We'll see how they come out in the rankings. And a lot of teams in that top 25 that lost this past week. Could there be some movement? Could the Badgers potentially maybe climb up into the top 10? Maybe just outside the top 10? Possibly. But, yeah, we'll see a little bit later on. And then Illinois, they lost to Maryland. Illinois lost to Maryland too, so potentially Wisconsin could be climbing up a little bit further in the rankings. And when you look at that Big Ten standings right now in college basketball, Wisconsin, the lone team, undefeated, at the top, by themselves right now in that conference. And the next closest is Purdue and Indiana, but they're 1.5 games back. So potentially Wisconsin could be creating a little bit of a gap coming up here. We got studs and duds. If you want to hit us up with some studs and duds, probably a lot of studs here this morning. So hit us up with your picks for studs and duds on that texting line, that Shoe Doctors bullpen texting line, 715-830-1912. But we might as well just jump right into it, baby. Packers taking down the Dallas Cowboys, becoming the first 7th seed. Now, I get it. It's only been a couple years, but it's still kind of, fun to say. Matt LaFleur even mentioned it in his locker room chat last night. But Packers becoming the first 7th seed, remember? Just it's only a couple of years since they've incorporated that extra team in the postseason, but they did become the first one to win a postseason game with their W. We'll see if the Steelers this afternoon can be the second one, if they could go into Buffalo to get that win. Reminder, you got 2 playoff games today, all right? Because Buffalo and Steelers got moved with all the snow going on in Buffalo. But that game's going to be this afternoon, then the nightcap with Philly and Tampa Bay. That winner will go to Detroit to face the Lions. Detroit squeaking out a W late last night against the Rams there. But Packers becoming that first one to get that W. I think really, if Jordan Love wasn't on the national pedestal Probably is after that game last night. Taking down the Cowboys. Putting up another tremendous game. I don't even want to say solid. Just fantastic performance last night. Matt LaFleur is just humming right now with his play calling, offensive play calling. Aaron Jones the other day said he feels like he's in his prime. Dude looks like it. I don't care he's going to be 30. That guy looks like he's still got a lot left in the tank. And at the beginning of the season, I kind of wondered, okay, contract-wise, cap hit, is he going to be back next year? Depending on the team, are they kind of going through that rebuild, youth movement? No, you bring 33 back next year. Okay. And I'd be surprised if they don't bring him back next year. Kind of the heart and soul of that offense, of that team right now. But Aaron Jones looks pretty darn good for a 30-year-old, late 29, soon to be 30-year-old running back. You bring that man back next year. The offensive line, give them credit, because how about this? How about this for a nugget from for the Packers offensive line and their performance against the Dallas Cowboys yesterday? Holding Micah Parsons. Okay, literally a couple times there. But the Cowboys had 0 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, and just 3 quarterback hits. That Packers offensive line was dominant. Dominant yesterday. Holding an aggressive Cowboys defense. Micah Parsons, one of the best defensive players in all of football, holding him to his lowest pass rush win rate this season. Zach Tom doing his thing on the right tackle side. Offensive line just doing a fantastic job. Whether it was pass protection or opening up holes for Aaron Jones, Cowboys led the NFL in pressure rate this season. This is from Matt Schneidman. Cowboys led the NFL in pressure rate this season, 44.7% per True Media. According to Next Gen Stats, they pressured Jordan Love only 4 times. And on those 4 pressures, Love was 4 for 4, $114, and a touchdown. Jordan Love, we've kind of said it for how many years about Aaron Rodgers. You want to blitz him, he's going to hurt you. Jordan Love's kind of trending in that same old direction right now. Packers, man. I mean, we can go through a bunch of different. I saw this. If you are a DVOA type of person, okay, we got rankings all across the board, right? Pro Football Focus and Next Gen Stats, and then there's DVOA. But Aaron Schatz from DVOA, Packers had a pass offense DVOA of 190% today. That's the highest pass offense DVOA in a game in Packers history. Packers history. Highest pass offense DVOA ranking in Packers history. That includes all those games with Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre. I mean, you want to throw in some of those quarterbacks. That's pretty darn impressive considering the quarterback lineage, the quarterback history in Green Bay. And Green Bay just had their highest, best DVOA ranking pass over there. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It was just a beatdown. It was just a beatdown. So, how you feeling about this team right now? Boy, we'll have plenty of time throughout the week to kind of talk about this game coming up against the 49ers. It'll be a tough one. Let's not kid ourselves, right? It'll be a tough one, but for today it's a victory Monday, so Let's kind of recap the W again from last night. Your thoughts, what really stood out to you, all that good stuff. All right, start hitting me up on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line with some text, baby. 715-830-1912. We got to take our first break. Victory Monday, though, will continue to roll this morning. We'll get to some of your thoughts. Where do we want to lead off? I'm saying, well, let's talk some offense. Let's talk a little Packers offense coming up in just a few minutes. Victory Monday continues to roll on, or I should say, getting into full gear right now. This was, I think, one of the Parsons stats for Zach Tom and the Packers offense. But those are the next gen stats. Packers held Micah Parsons to just one pressure on 19 pass rushes. That is Micah Parsons' lowest pressure rate in a game in his entire career. Entire career. Parsons had his only pressure come on an unblocked pass rush. Zach Tom held him to 0 pressures in 9 matchups. If we look at next gen stats, right tackle pressure rate leaders this season, including the playoffs, number 1 this year in the league, Zach Tom, second-year man out of Wake Forest. Packers might have themselves another pretty darn solid right tackle over there. Locking it down over there, baby. But holding, limiting, slowing down that pass rush for Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys. Easily one of the biggest factors in that Packers win from yesterday. Let's catch up on a few texts coming up here. G-Man a little bit earlier. DK, wow, what a game pack. I got my Jordan Love jersey on. Game time. Made the winning shot at the end of the game here. The Deer, Bucks, and Six also. Can't wait until the rankings come out. See where Bucky Badger will be. Living a dream, Jeff. Good morning, Dan. Nothing better than having a Cowboy fan at the house. Cowboy fan talking so much smack before and during the game. I believe there was a tear in the eye before the quarter. Needless to say, he didn't join me for my victory scotch. That a boy. Go Pack Go. Living the dream. Josh, it was arguably one of the best Packer games I've ever seen. Reminds me of the Falcons game in 2010. Brandon Beesbaum here. How about those Packers? What a game. The love train is rolling into San Francisco Saturday night, baby. Go Pack Go. Man Cave's lights were flowing while cooking in the garage. You know, gonna want to almost bust out a victory scotch on Victory Monday right now. I don't want to feel that right now, but man. So let's talk a little bit more about this Packers offensive output yesterday, last night. Offensive line starts up there. The protection that they were able to provide for Jordan Love. We went through Zach Tom's numbers. We went through some of the other advanced statistics out there in the first part there. Offensive line. We've kind of almost say it every single year. It's about the trenches, right? Winning in the trenches. Packers offensive line won in the trenches yesterday. Give that entire unit a ton of credit. Zach Tom, Walker, Myers, Jenkins, Runyon, Sean Ryan, whenever he's in there. That offensive line has really come together throughout this season. We talk about growth. We talk about, how Jordan Love has gotten better this year, how these young receivers have gotten better, tight ends. But this offensive line is that group that, maybe we don't spend a whole lot of time talking on or giving a lot of credit to. You got to look at that group, though, and the growth that they have gone through this season and just how much better they have gotten as the season progresses. Answers a lot of questions, too, maybe about the future of their offensive line. Is Walker that long-term starter at left tackle? He's playing pretty darn well. Zach Tom, promising rookie year last year, following it up with a better second year this year. Long-term fixture on that offensive line. Elton Jenkins is just solid all across the board. Josh Myers, probably his best season at the center spot. This offensive line coming together. It starts up there, opening up holes for the running game, pass protection, allowing Jordan Love to do his thing back there. This offensive line was a big reason why this team won yesterday. Then you have Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones just cooking, man. Just wheeling and dealing in his home state of Texas. A few days ago, when he said, I think I'm just entering my prime, everybody kind of maybe chuckled at it, like, okay, guy entering maybe the back end of his career. Of course, turned 29 in December. You hit that 30-year-old mark, and then people start to think, okay, running backs, that's their wall. So when he says, I'm just entering the prime of my career, people thinking, yeah, haha, funny, just kind of maybe speak. He wants to stay around, still wants to get paid. The way he's running right now, how can you argue against the man? How can you argue from what you've seen from Jordan Love? I mean, this guy has been on a tear, an absolute tear right now. You look at his last few games, 4 games in a row now, over 100 yards on the ground. Last 4 games, over 20 carries per game. This is the difference Aaron Jones makes with this offense. When he's in and when he's healthy and he doesn't have any restrictions or snap counts, he is the heart and soul of this offense. He is what gets it going. It was a great point, I thought, by Greg Olsen during the telecast yesterday when he was talking about the running game and Aaron Jones and such. It was what he thought, too, a belief from him, the development of the long passing game, the deep passing game, the Packers' willingness and success of throwing the ball down the field, helping out the running game. And he's right. We always talk about setting up the run or establishing the run to set up the pass. But ever since, halfway through the season, when Matt LaFleur and the Packers offense said, all right, screw it, let's let it rip. They let that sucker rip. They've been having success down the field, and the running game has benefited from it too. And having a healthy Aaron Jones involved in that is a big boost to it. But 4 games in a row now that the Packers have relied heavily on Aaron Jones and running the ball. No A.J. Dillon these last few games. Emmanuel Wilson got 8 carries yesterday. A lot of it in, some cleanup time and such. But they put that load on Aaron Jones again, and boy, did he come through. 5.6 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. He likes playing in his home states. Likes playing in Jerry World over there. I know I said it at the beginning. Part of me at the beginning of the year, and I know I wasn't the only one, I was like, okay, are they going to move on? And I didn't want them to move on from Aaron Jones. And I'm like, contract number, are they going to move on and maybe try to find somebody younger and that? And no, please don't. You can't. You can't. Why would you at this point? You can still draft a running back. You can still draft a running back and kind of have some depth there, but there's absolutely no way, none, that you should move on from 33. No. Don't even think about it. And then, again, you had another receiver coming up and having himself a game. It was Romeo Doubs yesterday. 6 targets, 6 catches, $151, and a touchdown. Dontavian Wicks, touchdown. Luke Musgrave, 3 catches, 52. Tucker Kraft, couple catches on there too. Jayden Reed was targeted 3 times. Guy didn't have a catch. Christian Watson was back in the game. Could tell it was a little bit of a limited role, but he got a catch, 9 yards. Bo Melton, the guy who's been catching everything, it seems like, the last couple of weeks, targeted just a couple times, got a catch. It was the Romeo Doubs game. And it's kind of been a theme lately with this offense. It's like, which receiver is it going to be today? One day it's Bo Melton. One day it's Jayden Reed. One day it's Dontavian Wicks. It was Christian Watson before he got hurt. Well, yesterday it was Romeo Doubs. Guy went out there and balled out. Jordan Love doing his thing. 16 of 21, 272 yards, 3 touchdowns. Nearly a perfect quarterback rating if Tucker Kraft doesn't drop that last pass at the end there. Threading the needle on some throws, his deep ball, accuracy. You want to talk about improvement? Jordan Love easily has gotten better as the season progresses, making a name for himself, putting his name out there in a national sense. Boy, this kid, he's still a kid, but this kid has potential to be pretty darn good. Pretty good. But I want to give some love too to Matt LaFleur, man. Again, it seemed like this was another game where this guy just seemed to have been a step ahead of the opposing defensive coordinator. In this case, his former boss, and Dan Quinn. It seems like when this offense is just humming and rolling, a big part of that is when Matt LaFleur is also humming and in a groove and rolling with his play call. That was a fantastic performance in terms of play calling yesterday. I mean, to establish the run, staying patient with the run, staying with it. But, you're getting the run, and then you're calling your play action game. You've got Luke Musgrave, who's wide open, Romeo Doubs wide open across the middle. I mean, it was a perfectly, and then your scripted plays to begin the game with. It was a perfectly executed offensive game plan. Nearly perfect. I don't know if anything's perfect, but boy, if it wasn't perfect, it was pretty darn close. Matt LaFleur did a fantastic job in play calling that game yesterday. It just felt like every time that offense was out there, they were going to do something. They were going to go out there and they were going to come away with some sort of points. He was dialed in. It was like he knew exactly what the Cowboys were going to do on that play. Matt LaFleur was a guy. October, even September, maybe a little bit in beginning of November, was under a lot of scrutiny from Packers fans. We had a few Packers fans chime in saying, you got to fire Matt LaFleur. You got to fire Matt LaFleur. For those of you who said that Matt LaFleur needs to be fired, where are you at right now? That guy has been doing a fantastic job. And for anybody who thought or even said that the guy has lost the locker room, couldn't be further away. There is absolutely no way that guy has lost the locker room. We are finally, and I know everybody's kind of beaten this to the pulp, but this is the offense that I think we all were kind of hoping to see when he was first brought on. And you get it, you come in and you've got a Hall of Fame quarterback already, and you kind of maybe meet in the middle a little bit. You adjust and you do some of the stuff that he likes. Actually, probably the majority of the stuff that he likes. You adjust your philosophy, your scheme a little bit to it. Now he's out. You're molding this quarterback, right? One of his main job duties was to mold Jordan Love, kind of like when Mike McCarthy was first brought into Green Bay. Okay, they had Brett, but they had this young, raw quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. Big role for Mike McCarthy was helping to develop Aaron Rodgers. Did a really good job at that. And right now, it sure looks like Matt LaFleur is doing a fantastic job with that. But also, we are seeing the offense that I think Matt LaFleur is more comfortable in. The offense that he wants to do. His offense, which, if you go back at the beginning of the year, When we chatted with Rob Demovsky from ESPN about that very topic, and he mentioned, Matt LaFleur hates it, doesn't like it when people say finally his offense, because his response is, what have we been doing the last few years? I get it. It's typical coach speak, but we also can see the writing on the wall. We can see it. The job, the play calling that he has done with this team, with this offense, is masterful. It was a masterclass performance yesterday. Studs. Matt LaFleur is a stud. And that was a hell of a performance from this Packers offense. Offensive line, Aaron Jones, Jordan Love, receiver/tight ends, coaching. Fantastic. All the teams that maybe want to interview Dan Quinn for head coaching jobs, he's probably hoping, hey, don't look at this game. My former quarterbacks coach whooped my butt. Whooped his butt. And, I don't know how else to describe this team in the last month and a half, maybe going back to Thanksgiving's the last couple months. But boy, this has been a lot of fun, hasn't it? I don't know of anybody who's kind of maybe changed their expectations or goals or anything like that. Hey, we're winning the Super Bowl this year. I don't know anybody who's there yet. Maybe after if they beat the 49ers, it kind of goes there. But nonetheless, but how this has probably been, I won't say the whole season, because let's be real, October it was frustrating, right? The ups and downs and the waves, and it was like, what are we doing here? I won't say it was the whole season, but these last couple months, this has probably been one of the most fun times of being a Packers fan that I can remember. Just seeing these guys, these group of guys, like who, what, huh? And they're going out there and imposing their will on teams. They're an inexperienced, we know the stats, youngest team in the postseason since 1977 or whatever year it is. Least amount of experience. They're going in there, but they're going in there without this experience and with this youth about them, and they're imposing their own will on these veteran teams and these other teams out there. They don't care about the age anymore. They don't care about the inexperience. They're going out there and imposing their style of ball on these teams. They're getting it done. Fantastic. Man, it's been so fun to watch these last couple months. I went into that game yesterday a little bit with a mindset of like, okay, I'm going to try not to, easier said than done. I'm going to try not to get too emotionally involved in this game. I'm like, okay, just maybe, settle down here a little bit and try not to get too upset if it doesn't go great or anything like that. Last night, watching that game, that first of all, that got out the window after the first drive. Completely out the window after the first drive. I can't remember the last time. It's been a little bit, but I can't remember the last time I was so geeked up throughout a game, so pumped up about a game throughout a game than I was yesterday. I mean, jumping out of my chair and high stepping after Darnell Savage had the pick six. Luke Musgrave wide open, catching the ball, getting in. Hudson was going crazy. I got my own little mini me who's addicted to the game now. We're high-fiving, hooting and hollering. Scared the crap out of the family dog throughout the game. I can't remember the last time having a game like that where it was so awesome watching and so much fun watching it. It's been a little bit. It's been a hot minute. Man. All right, let's take a quick break. Keep those thoughts coming. We got more text to get to. Come on. Hit us up. 715-830-1912. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Nick on the texting line. Coach LaFleur is holding this together. What a year for him. Completely agree. Dave, game plan worked perfectly. Score early, heavy, load on Aaron Jones. Passing attempts, Loves 21, Dak 60. Live a dream, Jeff. Nugget for everyone. Packers have won more playoff games in Jerry's world than the Cowboys have. I saw that meme kind of running around over there too. We've got G-Man. My stud is Aaron Jones. Dud, the weather we have right now. Surveyor Sam. What a game. What a game. What a game. This is the second greatest Packer game I've ever witnessed. Absolutely perfect and a complete beatdown of the Cowboys. What's number one, Surveyor? 45, Super Bowl 45, I would guess. Did you pick the Cowboys? You might have to start picking against them every week to fire up number 10. I already said the first part. Absolutely. I'll do the same. I'm superstitious. I've got no problem laying on that sword if it means my team's going to go out there and win. I'll take one. I might not even wash my underwear from yesterday's game and just, wear the same getup if that's going to help this team win. I am super superstitious. So, Jordan Love is a bad man. Message on the or a post or comment on the video stream. Morning, Dan. Stoked that the Packers to beat Dallas is okay to be cautiously optimistic, though. First, was it just Joe Barry's scheme or lack of competence on the offense of Dallas? Secondly, is this what our offense looks like at full throttle, or did we just catch Dallas napping? Hope you had a victory scotch last night's Go Pack. Well, I think for the second part, for the offensive side, it wasn't just like we've seen this offense, like this was the first game where they went out and like imposed their will. We've seen it now more times than not in these last couple months. So I think the offensive side of things, we've seen it more than just yesterday. Yeah, 48 points is a boatload and most that they've scored, but we have seen this offense. We've seen Jordan Love. We've seen how important Aaron Jones means to it. We've seen how good he looks when he's healthy. He's got fresh legs under him. We've seen the emergence of these young wide receivers and tight ends. So offensively, I think we've seen a pretty decent sample size to kind of increase those expectations for next year. To kind of, what is going on with that sound over there? So I think we've seen enough of a sample size to kind of get to the conclusion, all right, this is what we should expect from this offense moving forward, whether it's next year or what. Defensively, I will admit there was a small part of me in that game as I'm watching this. I'm like, oh, I've been wanting to say I don't think anything's going to save Joe Barry's job, anything short of a Super Bowl victory. There's part of me in that game, though, yesterday. I'm like, oh, Barry saving his job. But the way I think it kind of were made a little bit interesting yesterday in that, I'm like, I don't know anymore. I just think it's set up to be, all right, contract runs out. I'm not going to renew. So I don't think that has anything to do it. But I we got plenty of time to talk about coaching changes and all that when the season's over with, because the season's not over with at this point in time. So, but all right, keep your text coming. 715-830-1912. All right, C-Bomb, God dang it, Joe freaking Barry. He's my stud. What a performance by his defense. Dud for me. Sleep until 6:30 today. Missed your intro. I know you were juiced. What a victory Monday. Yeah, that is pretty much a dud performance to sit there at 6:30. You know what, C-Bomb? I'll tell you this. All right. Our office is actually closed today. I didn't have to come in today. Okay. I didn't have to come in today. Victory Monday. It was either going to be win or lose, though, dude. I was coming in. Can't miss a day not talking about a Packers playoff game, win or lose. So, yes, you, sir, sleeping until 6:30. Complete dud. Complete dud of a performance from you, sir. Boy. All right, we'll have more Green and Gold chats throughout. Okay, hit us up with your studs and duds. Text us 715-830-1912. We'll throw a little hoops talk in here, maybe for a little bit. I know everybody's jacked up about the win last night. Plenty more Green Bay, but it was a nice nightcap with the Bucks. That three-pointer from Damian Lillard in OT, walk-off three-pointer from deep to get the victory over the Sacramento Kings. Bucks picking up W's this weekend against Golden State, against Sacramento too, after their big win, dominating win against Boston. Bucks will be on the road here for the next three. They got Cleveland coming up on Wednesday. Then they got Detroit on Saturday, and Detroit again on Monday. Badgers also picking up a W. Badger Hoops picking up a W against Northwestern. They've increased their lead in the Big Ten Conference thanks to Maryland taking down Illinois. So the Badgers now up 1.5 games, 1.5 over their next opponent in the Big Ten standings there. So got a little hoops talk there. We'll get back to some more studs and duds over there too. But definitely, we've got 2 more hours full of green and gold chats coming at you. And I know if you go like on social media now, it seems like the 2 biggest topics, or at least if you go on the internet, 2 biggest topics in the football world are Harbaugh's apparently meeting with the Chargers today, and everybody talking about that Detroit win last night against the Rams over there. But we'll get you some injury updates from the game last night too, including Jair Alexander, Enoch Barre, couple of names who went out with an injury. Isaiah McDuffie also got a lot of playing time from Isaiah McDuffie yesterday. Notice that Isaiah McDuffie coming in, especially on the early downs, maybe a little bit for the run supports over there. But yeah, even with Devondre Campbell out there, they seemed like they were playing Isaiah McDuffie a little bit more. So plus, hey, we got 2 more playoff games coming at you this afternoon. The delayed Pittsburgh and Buffalo game, and then tonight, the nightcap, the Buccaneers versus the Eagles. Winner of that game will travel to Detroit. And again, if you missed it from last night, Packers will be playing Saturday night, the last game, Saturday night, 7:15 on Fox as they travel to San Francisco to take on the pesky 49ers. I say pesky 49ers because, well, that's been a team that this team has struggled with a little bit in the postseason. So they got another dominating and magical performance up their sleeves. Can they do it again Saturday night against the 49ers? So, what a victory Monday. What a victory Monday. You know, I think a lot of us on Friday, we talked about would we be surprised if Green Bay won? No. Would we be surprised if Dallas won? No. I think we're just surprised at how dominant, how absolutely dominant the Packers looked yesterday. Offensively, even a little bit defensively there for the most part. Straight up dominance. I think that is what really has everybody pumped up, geeked up, excited, and maybe even surprised a little bit yesterday. Keep your thoughts coming, though. Shot clock's going to cut me off here in about 30 seconds or so. So we'll begin the second hour with a little sports nuggets of the day for this January 15th. We'll hit up a little hoops chat, but plenty more football talk to be coming at you with this victory from the green and gold yesterday. So we'll hit that up, get back to some more of your thoughts, some more of your comments, and all that fun stuff. What who are your studs and duds? Who are your studs and duds? If you had to, I don't even know if I want to pigeonhole it. I don't know if I want to do that to you. I was going to say if you hand out one game ball, who would it be to yesterday? But there was way too many really good performances from yesterday to just narrow it down to one. Can't do that. Won't do that. All right, we got one in, 2 more to go. We'll be back after these news updates. Second hour kicking off on this Victory Monday. Appreciate y'all tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, JC and EC, Justice Cleveland, will be joining us for about an hour, like he normally does, 7:30 to 8:30 here this morning. So we'll catch up with Justice, Sports Director Extraordinaire, WEAU 13 News. We'll get back to some more of your texts, tweets, comments, all that good stuff over there. Get you an update on some of the injuries from yesterday, including Kingsley and Jair. What did Matt LaFleur have to say about those two players after the game? First, let's do some sports nuggets of the day. Sports nuggets of the day. It was in 1892 in Springfield, Massachusetts. The Rules of Basketball by James Naismith were printed in the Triangle newspaper. 1934, Babe Ruth signed a 1934 contract for $35,000. 1942, President Franklin Roosevelt gave baseball the approval to play. Despite World War II, he encouraged night games so that the war workers could attend. Let's go with 1958. The Yankees announced that they would televise 140 games in the 58 season. 1967, the first NFL Super Bowl was played. The Green Bay Packers defeated the Kansas City Chiefs with a final score of 35-10. Game was televised by both CBS and NBC and was not a sellout. We've got Super Bowl was played for the first time indoors in 1978. The game was played at the Louisiana Superdome in New Orleans. Dallas Cowboys defeated the Denver Broncos 27-10. 1990, Don Nelson became the second man in NBA history to appear in 1,000 games as a head coach and as a player. Anywhere else? 2001, an anonymous bidder paid just over $3 million for a baseball. The ball was the 70th home run ball hit by Mark McGwire. Those are just some of your sports nuggets for this January 15th. January 15th. Matt LaFleur, couple of injuries from the game yesterday. Jair Alexander looked like he re-aggravated his ankle injury, his left ankle injury. But he still stayed on the sidelines, was apparently trying to, do some cutting and all that. And you kind of wondered, okay, with the game maybe out of hand or the big lead there, were they a little cautious and they kept him off? But Matt LaFleur did say after the game that Jair wouldn't have gone back in the game even if it was close. So we'll see as the week progresses how Jair is going to be. We'll talk to Dr. Crow about this, but I saw if you have Twitter, there's an account, Pro Football Doc. He used to be the Chargers team doctor, but he thought that Jair would return soon. The difference between an inversion and an eversion ankle sprain. He thought, okay, it looked like an eversion ankle sprain, not that bad or not that severe. So he thought maybe a return soon, but we'll see as the week progresses how Jair's going to go. But there was Ed Werder before the game was reporting that Jair and Christian Watson were really pushing to Matt LaFleur to let them play. Matt LaFleur also kind of trying to balance, like, if you guys are going to do that, like trying to have some trust in his players. You got to remember, if you're doing that, you're going to be taking away a jersey from a healthy player out there. So, but we know Watson and Jair both began the game yesterday. So hopefully Jair will be ready to go and effective in that game against the 49ers coming up on Saturday. Also, Kingsley Enagbare after the game or during the game had left, was limping to the locker room. Matt LaFleur after the game saying, my heart hurts right now for JJ. It doesn't look good for him. So, Enagbare, knee injury, I believe they're calling it. Matt LaFleur pretty much saying that JJ probably going to be maybe done for the rest of this postseason over there. So those were a couple of injuries from the game yesterday. Isaiah McDuffie was reported that he suffered a stinger. He suffered a stinger in the game. we'll see how the week kind of moves along for him as well. So that's kind of where your injury updates are for the Pack. Matt LaFleur, I believe, will it'll be interesting to see what the practice schedule is going to be like this week because they play late Sunday. Now they got the late Saturday night game there. So got to imagine flying out Friday. Matt LaFleur has been pretty good about not pushing it with practice and doing some walkthroughs and that and making sure his team's been really prioritizing health, it seems like, in these last month and a half or so. So I maybe like one or two, maybe probably two full-on practices this week. But I believe we'll hear from Matt LaFleur later on today. Maybe we'll get a little bit of a better updates with some of these injuries over there. So we'll get back to some more green and gold chats coming up. But really quick, because I want to highlight or at least mention here, hoops wise over the weekend. Nice nightcap for Wisconsin sports last night with Damian Lillard putting a bow on a nice little Sunday for Wisconsin sports, hitting that 3-pointer as time expired, a deep 3-pointer to propel the Bucks to victory over the Sacramento Kings, 143 to 142. Bucks picked up a win Saturday night as well against Golden State, but in this game, Damian Lillard finished with 29 points, 8 assists. Giannis, triple-double for the Greek Freak last night, 27 points, 10 assists, 10 boards. Chris Middleton did not play in the game last night. Andre Jackson Jr. getting the start for him, but Beasley also putting up 23 points for the Bucks. Bobby Portis, 22 points off the bench for Bobby Portis. And you look at the games that he's been having these last couple weeks here. Go back to that game against Boston, 28 points off the bench with 12 rebounds. Golden State, he had 10 points and 8 rebounds there, but a couple big games in the last few days here for Bobby Portis. The Bucks now have a couple days off here before they hit the road and take on Cleveland Wednesday and then Detroit on Saturday. Detroit next Monday, a week from today, before returning home next Wednesday against Cleveland. They got Cleveland coming up here 3 times in the next week and a half, next couple weeks coming up here as we get closer to the trade deadline. But when you're looking at the latest standings in the NBA, Bucks 2.5 back from the Boston Celtics. Boston still holding on to that number 1 seed. Boston, the only team in the association with 30 wins, 30-9 overall. Milwaukee 28-12. If you're looking at the Western Conference side of things, Minnesota holding on to that number 1 spot in the Western Conference standings. They're riding a 2-game winning streak right now, but Oklahoma City Thunder just nipping at the heels. Half game back. They're riding a 4-game winning streak, 8-2 in their last 10. And then Denver sitting there at that 3 seed, but they're just 1 back from first place. So we got a tight race. If you're a T-Wolves fan, tight race right now for that Western Conference standings, for the Western Conference standings over there. And then college basketball wise, the Badgers with another W, getting by Northwestern on Saturday, 71-63 for the Badgers. Glassman again, another game for him, another solid game for him. 24 points, AJ Storr 14. It was pretty much all Badger starters. I should say maybe about 3 of them. Tyler Wall 11 points over there too, but 71-63 victory for the Badgers to remain undefeated in conference play, 5-0 in conference play, and currently hold a 1.5 game lead over Purdue and Indiana in Big Ten Conference standings. Illinois losing to Maryland yesterday too. So Illinois, they're 2 back, along with Minnesota and Northwestern from Wisconsin. Wisconsin alone in first place in the Big Ten Conference standings. It'll be interesting to see where some of these rankings kind of come out, because this past week, you had a ton of upsets. You had ranked teams falling to unranked teams. Saw this. Yeah, this was on Saturday. This was the NCAA March Madness Twitter account. Okay, this was even before Maryland defeated number 10 Illinois. Number 1, number 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 11, 17, 19, 21, 23, 25 ranked teams. Those were the ranked teams. All lost to unranked opponents this week. That was before unranked Maryland defeated Illinois. So you can add number 10 in there now. There's a chance Wisconsin might crack that top 10 in terms of rankings right now. They're playing some good hoops. They're playing some really good hoops. Pay attention to this Badger basketball team. All right. Let's catch up on some messages there. Card Collecting Club. Aaron Jones has been the ignition to the fire the Packers have needed down the stretch. Combined that with Love's amazing decision-making and improved defensive scheme, and we have become a scary team to face in the postseason. Heard Coach say last night, JJ, tough way to end the season. Hate losing players that way. Who was he talking about? I think we just answered that. That was Kingsley Enagbare. Have to give this is from Sean from Eau Claire. Have to give a big-time shout-out to the big games up front. The Packers season seems like it turned around when the O-line took over. Might be jumping the gun, but the Packers will soon be in cap hell again when Love and a few of the offensive linemen get paid. If this season is just a start, both Walker and Tom will be getting big paydays in roughly 3 years. Next game is the true test. Can the O-line hold up to the San Francisco defensive front? You can worry about that down the line, right? We got a couple years yet for Zach Tom and Walker to be paid over there. By that time, maybe Elton Jenkins is on the move, and that cap hit comes off the books there too. Remember, David Bakhtiari's cap hit is still on this books too. It'll all even out. I don't think they will get into a situation like they were with that weird contract with Aaron Rodgers. They are going to pay Jordan Love. They can't pay him until, was it May? Because of that extension that he had instead of getting the 5th-year option. What was it, May? They can't work on an extension with him. He's going to get paid. Jordan Love's going to get paid, and rightfully so. He deserves it. He's earned it this year. And in a couple years, the contracts already might look pretty underpaid if Jordan Love continues to play at a high level here too. But man, is there, as a Packers fan, taking away Vikings and Bears, is there a more, how do I want to phrase this? Is there a better team to beat than the Cowboys? Think about this last 3 weeks, Packers fans. Okay, think about this. Last 3 weeks, Green Bay has defeated Minnesota, defeated Chicago, and has now defeated Dallas. 3 straight weeks. Can you name 3 different opponents that you don't enjoy beating more than those 3 right now? Minnesota, Chicago, Dallas. 2 of the 3 were in their houses. Chicago was at Lambeau. Chicago had a chance to knock Green Bay out of the postseason. They didn't do that. And you look at those 3 opponents, too, or those 3 games. Minnesota, offense, humming. Chicago, score may not have shown that, but it felt like the offense was just humming, right? The offense was humming. Just felt like a couple drop passes there. They should have had more points there. And then yesterday's performance. But can you name, would you add it? And then you got San Francisco coming up. Which has been the team that has been kind of your bugaboo in these last few seasons. Can't ask for a better run right now. And if Green Bay somehow goes to California and picks up that W, heck, they may be going up against the Lions in an NFC Championship game. Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but can you think about that, man? Tom from across the pond. How you doing, man? Tom is our our listener from across the pond who is a Lions fan, thoughts on a potential Lions versus Packers NFC title game at Ford Field is 2 games away. Tom, we might have to have some fun with that one if that were to happen there. Hopefully you're doing well. I want to focus on the 49ers right now, though. Tom, don't get my hopes up at this point in time because that's going to be a tough one. But yeah. And I know some Packers fans been kind of having some fun with this too, but maybe, just maybe, the Packers again got Mike McCarthy fired. I don't know how this is all going to play out. I don't know how his future is going to play out after this. I know Jerry Jones said afterwards that this is one of his most disappointing losses. They were, I mean, you look at his comments. You probably heard it. You probably read them. You probably heard them. They really thought they were going to win this game. They had it in their mindset that they were going to win this game. They were, quote, floored how this game went. Now you got good old Bill Belichick who's available out there. A lot of talk, a lot of speculation. Could the Cowboys make a move and try to bring in Belichick to come in? We'll see. But Chris Sims from NBC Sports just tweeted this out. Bad weekend for the, quote, "this is what we do" defenses. Great weekend for Matt LaFleur and Bobby Slowick. Tons of game plan specific plays that shredded the Cowboys and the Browns defenses and exposed their over aggressiveness. And those defenses never adjusted. Think about that too. This past weekend, Browns defense, uber aggressive defense with Jim Schwartz there. CJ Stroud and a rookie quarterback shredded him. Texans defense also played really well. Got a couple picks against Joe Flacco, right? Couple pick sixes. So I don't want to discredit the Texans defense. They played incredibly well. But yeah, CJ Stroud looked really good. And then, yeah, we talked about it Friday. Dan Quinn, aggressive defense. Would he go out there and try to be maybe even a little bit more aggressive in that first drive to set the tone? Very aggressive defense. Matt LaFleur and the offense felt like they had answers for everything. In fact, it felt like that, again, a defensive coordinator was trying to play catch up to Matt LaFleur, trying to do something to slow them down, but they were just one step ahead. One step ahead. We've been giving a lot of credit to everybody. Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love, Aaron Jones, offensive line, receivers. I'll say it again, man. It sure looks like Goody hit it out of the park with some of his decisions and draft picks this year. It sure seems like he got that right. I mean, this might be one of his best class. Maybe, I don't know if, expectations are going to be incredibly high that for his future draft classes, because this class has been fantastic. And you hope with more experience, more playing time that these guys are going to get, they're going to get better. And that depth at wide receiver. I think it was Howie Long that said at halftime or something like that, Green Bay knows how to do one thing. That's draft quarterbacks and wide receivers, or develop quarterbacks and draft wide receivers. But I was seeing Packers that when it got to 20-0 in the press box there, the press box announcer had to remind everybody in the press box to that there was no cheering, and Matt Schneidman said the cheering was coming from the Packers, Brian Gutekunst and the Packers over there. He said, "Don't know if the announcer knew that or not, but." And if I'm Goody, I am absolutely pumped because he took a lot of heat too. He took a lot of questions from us, from Packers fans, from all the national media, from all the pundits out there. Why not bring in a veteran tight end? I thought they should have had a veteran tight end. Should they have brought in a veteran wide receiver to kind of help mold and maybe tutor, lead these young wide receivers. Now I feel like that maybe this team right now is surpassing some of their expectations that they had at the beginning of the year, but you gotta give credit to where credit's due. Goody has built a pretty fun and pretty darn good team, and there's gotta be no there's a short list, and he's right there at the top, but he has gotta be ecstatic, and he deserves everything, all the praise that should be coming his way right now. He took a lot of heat, he took a lot of question marks, he took a lot of it with the Jordan Love pick too, and right now he's probably I don't know if he keeps receipts, but he's probably checking some of them right now. Guy has done a fantastic job. He has done a fantastic job. It was let me see if I saved it. I tried to save a lot of the stuff from yesterday after the game there. Um, where is it? Maybe it was I think it might have been an ESPN reporter here. Let me double check it here. No, no, I didn't save it. But anyways, there was I think it might have been Jeremy Fowler or something like that. Just praising what Brian Gutekunst the job that he has done and just how fantastic of a team he's kinda put together here too. I'll have to see where I saved I thought I saved that yesterday. I'll have to double check it somewhere, but nonetheless, that guy deserves some credit over there too. All right, let's take a quick break. We should have JC, Justice Cleveland, WEAU sports director, joining us here for about an hour. We'll get back to some more football talk. Your thoughts, keep them coming. Text us 715-830-1912. Let's catch up on a few texts as we get set to welcome our good friend, Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire, WEAU 13 News here in just a little bit. Hit us up with those texts if you haven't done so far at 715-830-1912. That shootout bullpen line over there. What do we got? So we got where'd it go? There we go. Surveyor, was there anything better than seeing Jerry look like he was about to have an absolute tantrum in the game? We got Texter saying, stud Tom Clements, not sure if he's under contract for next year. If not, pay the man. Can't help but believe he has had a major influence in developing 10 LFGPG. I think you all know what that stands for over there. Rain Man, defense for the most part shut down an elite offense. They did the same against Kansas City. Are we still on the fire the defensive coordinator kick? Are we starting to get on the players for not stepping up against the Bucks or the Giants? Sorry for the text and drive. You sound like you're from Alabama. I don't know. I'll throw it out to the rest of you. Are you still on it? Are you still on the defense fire the defensive coordinator thing? As can maybe the question is, can Joe Barry do anything to potentially save his job? Or do you think that was written in the cards and there's no absolute way anything less of a Super Bowl appearance, he would still be on the outs? What do you think? All right. What do you think? We've got a few more messages to get to. Our good friend Tom from across the pond. Enjoying the playoffs, one game at a time. Definitely be living that full week. Take it. Hope you and the family are good. NFC North has the future of the tight end position. Musgrave and Kraft looking very good against Dallas all year. They were well, you got Sam Laporta. That's a good point by Tom there. You got Sam Laporta in Detroit, Tucker and Luke. You got Hawkinson over there with Minnesota as the kind of the veteran of the group. I know Cole Kmet, they're high on him in Chicago. But yeah, no doubt about it. We got some good tight ends here in the NFC North, right? Absolutely. So, a couple more games yet today, but we know how the NFC is going to play this thing out because, well, Green Bay and San Francisco, that's Saturday night. Detroit knows they will be home for another week. Got either the Buccaneers or the Eagles coming to Detroit. We'll see how that one plays out over there. But got a couple more texts coming up here. We got I know a lot of garbage time stats, but Cowboys had nearly 100 more total yards and 15 more first downs. Fire Joe Barry. All right, so we do have some people saying Joe Barry deserves a lot of credit. Yet we got another texter here saying nope, still fire him. Joe Barry was a stud for C-Bomb. Speaking of C-Bomb too, I forgot this text a little bit earlier. But what I love about this offense is we don't have a bona fide number one wide receiver. We have a stable of twos. 10 doesn't have to force feed one guy. It keeps the defense guessing. Jordan takes what the defense gives him. That was the most fun offensive performance I can ever remember. So awesome. Go, Pack, go. All right, let's take a really quick break, our final break for this hour, because I got to go unlock the door and let Justice in. He's probably freezing his bunions off right now out there. So, really quick break. It's a short one, but we'll be back here in just a couple minutes. studio has been really hot throughout the whole morning. It just got a whole lot hotter because JC and the EC is now in.
I'm happy. It's
Yeah.
really hot in
Yeah.
here. It's really cold out there.
It is.
-11, is that what we're at right now,
Oh,
or something
boy.
like that?
Holy moly. I tried turning it down to like 60 degrees in the studio and it ain't working. So, yeah. But it's I think Packers Nation's pretty hot right now too.
Oh yeah.
Pumped up after that game yesterday.
I think I want to say that me and you, though, we didn't call it. I don't want to say I called it.
Mhm.
But we said there was always a good chance this game. This was the perfect opponent, I think, for the Packers to play.
Yeah.
Like the Cowboys were the pressure was completely on Dallas.
Oh yeah.
Like, and I think I remember if I'm remembering this, I have to go back and listen. But I think I said if they can get ahead early,
Yeah.
that's a big positive for the Packers.
It was a
And
perfect
that's what they
drive.
did.
8-minute drive
Yep.
and touchdown right away.
They just set the tone. They
Yeah.
really did. And then the defense playing so well, and Dallas just looking like they almost, you don't want to say overlooked the Packers, but that's the way it looked like for the start. Like they didn't expect this from this Packers team.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of weird in the game, and maybe I was just missing something, but they were really the telecast was really focused on the body language of CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, like am I missing something there? Like it just felt like they were really like trying to focus on that because they hit it right away. Like after that first drive where McCarthy's talking to him and all that, and I'm like, it seemed to be really early to be talking about
Right.
body language and disconnects
Is there
between CeeDee Lamb and all that.
Is there something we're not privy to
Right.
with that? But wasn't it it was Amari Cooper? Was
Yeah.
one of the playoff games. It was kind of the same thing of them talking about how Amari didn't seem like he was
Right.
into it.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I mean, Dak did not look good that first half.
Mm-mm.
Obviously, they were able to score. In most games, when you score as much as they did in the second half, you end up winning the game.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was just ugly on the Dallas side. I mean, Dan Quinn, guy who's, they're talking about going to be a head coach somewhere. That was not a good audition.
No.
I don't know what their game plan. I think they thought they could just get home constantly. I think they underestimated how well that Packers offensive line has gelled.
Yeah.
And the chip blocking, the fact that you had, Aaron Jones up there going against Micah Parsons.
It was a huge block on Aaron Jones had on Parsons on that one play.
I mean, it was, for the Packers, the formula was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
For Dallas, I think the formula was just disaster. I think they really looked like they were sleepwalking in that first half, and the Packers did what they had to do to take advantage.
I know we kind of touched on it on Monday a little bit there, but now everybody's wondering, is Bill Belichick going to be the guy
right
going into Dallas? I mean, it's not good for Mike McCarthy. I mean, great regular season win. I mean, but you look at this, and I mean, you read what Jerry Jones or hear what he said after the game, and calling it one of the most upsetting. And I mean, they fully expected, they thought they were going to win that game, and maybe that's the fault to their own too, going into that thinking they were going to win that game.
I think they were overconfident. I really do. And anybody who had watched this Packers team all year knew that they could play up to their opponent's level. They can play down to their opponent's level too. We've seen that plenty of times this season too. But I mean, if you saw them beat Kansas City, that should have been, the light bulb should have went off. Like, okay, this is a team that's for real. But I don't know. I for the Dallas, Mike McCarthy, any other place, he's probably fine. But Dallas he knew signing up what he was getting into.
Yep.
And playoffs are all that matter.
Yep.
In Dallas.
Yep.
So will McCarthy land on his feet? Probably. I mean, he's probably gonna get another job.
You think he'd get a third shot somewhere?
I think he will.
Yeah,
it's not like he's like, look at his regular season record.
Yeah.
It's great.
One of his best friends is currently looking for a coach, John Schneider in Seattle.
Wouldn't that be funny if somehow it works out that Mike McCarthy...
Look at the teams that Mike McCarthy would go to after Green Bay, considering the history he's had with these teams when he was in Green Bay. Dallas and then Seattle. I mean, that would just be... You can't write a better script than that.
I think Seattle, too, would be... I mean, if you want to go somewhere where you have a best shot of winning right away, I think Seattle's that place. I think Seattle's still set up to be a success. Now, if you go to Carolina or something like that...
No,
that's a total rebuild. That unless you're like Houston and somehow roll the dice and things work out as quickly as they did, I don't think that team's in the place. Tennessee's not in a bad place, I don't think either.
Right.
But I mean, it'll see how it all rolls out, and he could still end up being the Cowboys coach.
Right.
But I mean, after that first half, I mean, to have a whole. I mean, I can't imagine. I wasn't really looking at Dallas Twitter as much as other than people that can follow that somehow are Dallas fans, but it can't be good right now.
No, and let's just say it, the gonads of Matt LaFleur to win the toss in a hostile environment.
Yep.
Pull his best Matt Hasselbeck, we want the ball and we're going to score.
Mhm.
To throw your young offense, inexperienced offense, let's just call it, first time start for Jordan Love in a postseason, going up against Dallas, and like the crowd's going into it, their defense is out there.
And that defense is a good
Yes,
defense.
yes.
It-
And nope, 8 minutes, touchdown.
To me, it was just showing how much this offense has grown on every facet of
Yes.
the game. Everything early in the season, you'd have one thing looking good, one thing wasn't looking good, one other thing was looking good.
Mm-hmm.
All around things are looking good. And then you have I think Aaron Jones is the big key.
Yep.
I think having that veteran in there and just running as hard as he does. I mean, Aaron Jones to me runs harder than anybody I've seen. He kind of reminds me, I mean, I'm kind of too young, but I remember, the Walter Payton, the guy who just runs as hard as he can every run.
Yep.
And then he gets punished, but man, does he get the yards.
Yeah, he does.
And for him to set the tone like that, and I don't know if I've seen a quarterback, and this is saying a lot because, I mean, we've saw Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers back to back, who can throw off his back foot and know where he's throwing. He's throwing to the zone. He's throwing to a spot.
Yeah.
He's not throwing to the guy. He's throwing to a spot, and he knows the exact spot. And these balls are lofted. These aren't like rocket. Like that was Rodgers and Favre. It was just the rockets to the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Love just knows that little spot, soft spot in the zone where he just needs to loft it.
Yeah.
And find a receiver. And credit to the receivers for knowing where they need to be.
Right.
But I mean, it's been just amazing, especially I think it's the second half of the season where we've seen a lot more of those just throw over the middle, and you're thinking it's going to be intercepted.
Yeah.
Because it's just a lofted ball.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you see the receiver come in, make the grab, and go. I mean, I don't know if I've seen a quarterback able to do that like he does.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you take a piece of paper and you're going to throw it, do the Kobe into the garbage.
Exactly.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
He's just throwing it up, and all of a sudden the receiver comes in there.
Yep.
And gets it. So
a little fadeaway there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the receiver's going up to get the ball too. I mean, he's throwing them in the right place, and that's where you now look at like what Brian Gutekunst saw in him and what Matt LaFleur saw in him, because we didn't see that. Like you don't know that a guy can do that until you see him out on the field. And I think as his confidence grew, he's been able to do it. I think we saw him miss a lot of those passes early in the season.
Well, what was one of the things that was coming out right at the beginning? All the deep ball accuracy and all that, and that's gotten better.
Right. But I don't think it's like the deep, like he doesn't have to do that.
Right.
He's throwing these over the middle, and I think this is where it's the difference between him and Rodgers. Rodgers liked those outside guys. If he was going deep, it was going more than likely to the outside. Love's not afraid to find that spot in the middle and find it, not have like a Devontae Adams who he has to throw it to.
Mm-hmm.
It's whoever's there is getting that ball. So I've been overly impressed by him the last few weeks. And yeah, we'll see what it goes here in the next week. But again, playing with house money, and at this point for the Packers this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of like to go back to what you're saying, maybe I think we would have been surprised with either outcome at this, but the fact that it was just pure domination, I think is what's got a lot of people surprised and a lot of Packer fans pumped up.
Oh, I think, I mean, that gives you hope going into the 49ers, which is another team that has taken hope away from the Pack. It's funny because you go from your two most experienced now because of the Packers and Cowboys had the 9th time. I think this will be the 10th time now. So that'll be the all-time record again for playoff battles between the 49ers and Packers. And it hasn't been a very good outcome for the Packers in recent history.
And I thought I heard, I'd have to look this up, but I thought I'd heard, or maybe it was something on the telecast, or somewhere on Twitter. I think it might have been Twitter. If the Packers would have won yesterday, they would have tied or became the team with the most postseason wins.
Yes, I think because they had the most appearances with Dallas.
Okay.
So now they probably should have the most. Well, no, it goes by years, so never mind that.
Right. I thought it was something because I think it was talking about Patriots and then Green Bay. I'll double check. I think it might have been like.
Well, I mean, it should be. I mean, the Packers have been in the playoffs the majority of my lifetime. So first 11 years, no, but after that, from 91 on, it's been every year they're in. So for the last 32 years, success.
Exactly. So there was something else. Oh, you talk about the middle of the field here, and I'm going to revisit this. This is what I was Googling here a little bit because at the beginning of the year we were we talked to Rob Domofsky from ESPN, And, the narrative of this is finally going to be Matt LaFleur's offense, right? Finally going to be Matt LaFleur's offense. And we were talking to Rob about that, and he chuckled because he was actually working on an article at that point in time about how this offense is going to look different. Because you asked Matt LaFleur, he's like, it's not good. It's always been my offense.
Right.
Coach speak. He's not going to, come out there and say, yep, I finally get to do what I want because Aaron Rodgers is out of town,
Right.
Sort of thing. But a lot of the numbers, if my memory serves me correctly, and that's why I want to look back at it, but they did like the next gen stats and looked at a lot of stuff, more middle of the field type of stuff. And I think we're seeing that
Oh, yeah.
this year big time. I mean, how many times did Romeo Dobbs seem like, some of those passes, Love's chucking, and all of a sudden Romeo's right there.
Yeah.
Picking up that big first down or something. It's just been, you're right, Aaron. It seemed like he really tried to utilize the sideline a little bit more.
Yeah, I think he wanted those little tight windows to the sideline. Like credit to Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback, he knew how to find those windows a lot of the time.
Yep.
You don't see Love doing as much rolling out either.
Right.
Whereas Rodgers would escape that pocket and roll out. I think that's part of Love's thing is that he's able to throw in those tight pockets and still get the pass off. And that's maybe where they're coming off the, throwing off the back foot. You would never want to teach anybody how to do that, but man, he knows how to do it and do it effectively.
Yep.
We've said that about Favre. We've said that about Rodgers. Is just those little intangibles that can make you a great quarterback. Right now, again, this is 1 year. The Hall of Fame stuff and all that. We'll go down visit that down the road if he was there for 10 years. But for 1 year right now, he looks to be legit one of the top quarterbacks in the league right now.
Yeah, just a little bit here because I have that article up here. Just paraphrasing some of it, but it said Rodgers shied away from the middle of the field between the painted numbers. When asked whether Rodgers did that by design, LaFleur said no, because I feel like a lot of our offense is predicated on going numbers and numbers. Again, kind of coach speak there. Yet, in 4 years of the Rodgers-LaFleur pairing, Rodgers threw to the middle of the field less frequently, 41.4%, than all but one of 46 quarterbacks with at least 500 pass attempts. The only one with fewer, Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, so there you go.
I would love Rob to revisit this now.
Yeah,
to do that.
That would, because again, I think we're seeing it more and more, and that's what you need. You need to get everybody involved, and if you're going in the middle of the field, that's where the majority of your players are.
Yeah,
those one-on-one matchups are going to be on the outside, but if you can get to the middle of the field and get more and more guys involved and make them feel like they're a big vital cog to the offense, you're going to find more success. And I think that's been the key to this offense, especially the second half of the season.
I agree. So one question we did have a little bit earlier, something you kind of touched on last week too. Players love him. Is Joe Barry saving his job?
I mean, the way they came out, you can say what you want about the second half, but that was we're up by 30, kind of thing where,
yeah,
not 30, but you know what I mean? Like they're up big. They have so I don't want to fault them for the second half because that could happen to pretty much any team.
And Matt LaFleur took some of the blame saying, I shouldn't have taken out the starters.
Right. He took his foot off the accelerator, and you never want to do that in a playoff game. But the first half, the way that defense knew where they needed to be every time, the interceptions that these guys were coming, and just making Dak Prescott and that offense feel uncomfortable. Yeah, I mean, he might be. I mean, fans can. It's very Dom Capers-esque.
Yeah.
As soon as you thought that it was enough that they were going to run him out of town, he comes up with big performances.
If they slow down the 49ers.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that might do it. Yeah. I thought I admit I've been one that says anything short of a Super Bowl about, but I'm kind of changing that a little bit. Like if he goes out there and that defense shuts down San Francisco's offense, an offense that has had their way against Green Bay more times than not.
Oh yeah.
Especially running the football. We know Kyle Shanahan, if he wants to go in there and run the ball 50 times, he will run the ball 50 times.
Right. He'll do what needs to be done. He's not going to fall for, having to have a 50-50 mix. He'll go and run and with Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And other guys that you could throw. You can throw Debo out there and get some yards.
Yep.
They're very much able to kind of switch things up. It's going to be a tough test. And you can honestly look at it this way. Does Joe Barry want to come back after all that he's been through? Because with his contract up, right? It's the end of this season that his contract's up.
Yeah.
He's got choices he's got to make too.
Right.
And it hasn't been.
Because that's the thing, right? Too, and I know everybody's said it before. It's like, because the contract does fire, if we want to get into, the proper way of saying it or anything like that. I mean, not renewing it or whatever. It's the same thing, as being fired or not. So, but I don't know.
Right. It's going to be an interesting to see. It's going to be a decision probably on both sides now.
Yeah.
Because if you have a guy come out and say, in one of those pressers that it's been a tough week on his family,
Right.
that doesn't seem like he feels like he's very invited
Right.
into the Packers. And, the fans have been on him forever
Mm-hmm. Since he's been hired.
Yeah, since he's been started because he wasn't.
He was Detroit's defense coordinator when he went 0-16, and
wasn't
all
Jim
stuff.
Leonard. Jim Leonard was the one that everybody, even though Jim Leonard probably
turned him down, they apparently.
Yeah,
so
it's like it'll be an interesting decision, but I think he's done a good job these last 3 or 4 weeks, really, of putting together game plans, and it's all up to the players executing it. And the players have you get Jair, you don't know if you're going to have him play, then have him have a key interception right away.
Yep.
You have Keyshawn Nixon, who was basically everybody was just a return guy. Had no one was talking about him at all defensively. Come out and is playing great in the defensive backfield. I mean, that's credit to him. That's credit to his coaches. Yeah. So, you can't discount what he's done lately.
A lot of these position coaches have done a fantastic job.
Yes.
I think this year. I mean, Tom Clements, Jason Vrabel, the wide receivers coach. I mean, you can go Luke Butkus if you want for the offensive line growth. Is it Dutton, the tight ends coach?
Yeah.
I think. I mean, go down the line of some of these guys. Even the defensive backs coach for Carrington Valentine ready to go out there and secondary and that. A lot of these position coaches deserve a big tip of the cap.
Tom Clemens, man, that guy probably deserves more kudos than he's ever going to get. His quarterbacks that have played for him obviously have loved him.
Yep.
But, man, for him to come in, and now we're seeing the best of Jordan Love with him there, very similar to what he did with Rodgers.
Yeah.
That guy has done a great job and probably one of the unheralded heroes the last 20 years of Packer football.
Yeah. Yeah. For the whatever. And you look at the 1 year, too, that he had in Arizona, might have been Kyler Murray's best year in Arizona, too. Because he was the quarterback coach over there for a couple years. But, yeah, for the year that Kyler Murray had, Tom Clements was the quarterback's coach for him.
He is a quarterback whisperer. You've heard all those. Cliff Kingsbury was the quarterback whisperer and stuff like that. Tom Clements has a proven track record of what he has done to make these guys up to the next level. And whatever he does, I would love to be in that classroom to kind of see what he teaches these guys, because it works. It really works.
Because I love his pressers because he's got such a dry sense of humor, too. And you often wonder, is that the same person you see in these meetings?
Right.
Behind the closed wall or behind closed doors and all that, because, he's a little sarcastic at times with his pressers. I mean, I still remember when he first got back to Green Bay a couple years ago, first question to him from a writer was, what drew you back to Green Bay, or what got you back to Green Bay? Delta. That was his answer, stuff like that. So,
right.
Even when he was under Mike McCarthy, it just seemed like very kind of dry sense of humor, no nonsense type of dude. But players love him.
Yeah, and I would say I think Rodgers Rodgers did win an MVP without him, but I think his best years were when Tom Clements were involved, and I think Tom was able to kind of maybe pull in the reins a little bit more.
Yep.
And it happens almost with every quarterback. They get that experience, they kind of now start doing things on their own.
Yep.
But I think we're seeing him help Jordan Love reach a level that I don't think any of us expected to see him at this year.
Yeah, exactly. All right, shot clock is playing right now. We got another hour to go, another 30 minutes with JC Nisi. Keep your texts coming, though. 715-830-1912. We'll be back with more of your comments. Definitely a very, very happy Packers Nation on this Victory Monday. Third and final hour on this Victory Monday, and the mic falls off again. I swear, this thing. I mean, I
He's
don't
dropping
know.
the mic, folks.
Yeah.
He's so happy about the Packers win.
This concoction or whatever they got going on here. It looks like a socket. That whole, like a socket wrench. What do they call it? Like
You got
it's
like
weird. I don't know what's
screw
going on
into
here.
screw into screw.
Yeah. Not great. But final hour here on this still cold Monday morning, but a little toasty here in the studio here. Hopefully.
What was it in Bismarck, North Dakota? It was like the high yesterday was like -12. They're getting like wind chills of -60 or something like that. That's why I'm glad, as much as North Dakota was fun when I was a kid,
Yeah.
this balmy tropical Wisconsin, I'll take it.
Hey, just got this breaking news, by the way. Andy Reid's mustache finally melted, so there you go.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. How about the temperatures for I always imagine Kansas City to be a warmer place.
Yeah.
And for them to get like one of the historically cold playoff games just surprised me.
And I feel like it almost kind of flew under the radar, or it happened really quick.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but because whenever I hear that, I'm like, well, I was at, Packers Giants 08, and I feel like that got more fanfare. I don't know if it's just because those Packers and Ice Bowl and
NFC
that's
Championship
NFC
too.
Championship on
Yeah.
there too. But yeah, that one was colder.
Yeah. Green Bay's, been there for most of it's funny because they were showing those graphics and like every other game was a Packers game. So yeah, I think of the Packers game. Obviously, Ice Bowl is the one that in that championship game, and then of course that Cincinnati game.
Yeah.
And playing that on turf too.
Oh.
Like they're playing on cement and out there just freezing. You do not understand how hard old school AstroTurf was until you've walked on it and feel how. Again, I think grass is the best way is grass, but man, those old school AstroTurf fields were just brutal.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's still just the quote mindset or just showing your toughness. Wear sleeves. You're not impressing anybody not wearing sleeves. I'm just saying, come on now. Just stop.
Unless you're Kirk Cousins and you're banging the drum.
I remember still that, speaking of, because I was at that 08 NFC Championship game and seeing Corn Robinson coming out, no sleeves, and he has jersey rolled up. So, no undershirt or anything like that during warm-ups. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
No.
There's got to be like at a point where it's just like more detrimental not to be wearing sleeves.
Yeah. Because you keep hearing, hey, contact on skin within like 5 minutes, frost, it's like, okay, to stop now. You're not impressing anybody with that.
Run out and start your car in the morning and you're like, okay, imagine somebody trying to go out there and play a whole football game like that. I get it. You have like heaters and stuff over there on the bench, but that only does so much.
Yeah.
Once you're 5 yards away from those things, it's right back to being cold. I think the sidelines tend to stay a little warmer just because you have the benches, you have the heaters on both sides. So there's kind of a little pocket, but even a little warmer, it's still freezing.
Yeah.
So
exactly. A lot of you, we got Patrick on the video stream.
Hey, Patrick.
Congrats to Matt LaFleur for completely out-coaching McCarthy and Quinn.
Great
win.
Agree with that.
It seems like he's just been one step ahead of these defensive coordinators lately.
I don't know what Quinn's game plan is, but it just seemed like he came in there thinking that his soft zone defense playing off the line was going to be enough. Shouldn't you know that the Packers are so deep at wide receiver, giving him a cushion? And maybe, he thought maybe the blitzes would get home more and put more, he could rattle. And we've seen that Dallas defense rattle teams. It's kind of the same if you go to like Kansas City when they go out on their full out blitzes as well. They rattle quarterbacks to the point that they just can't make decisions anymore. That never happened yesterday at all. Jordan Love was just in the zone in that pocket there.
And he seems, what was it with Aaron Rodgers, don't blitz him because he'll hurt you. That was the 4 times that they got home to Jordan Love was 4 for 4.
Yeah.
It seems like that doesn't even faze him at this point now either.
The play I look at was the touchdown to Wicks.
Yeah.
Where he's at the line. And it was great because it was like an extended sequence where you see him calling out everything, controlling that line of scrimmage, get the snap, and it was one of those throws just off his back foot to Wicks, finding the spot in the zone in the middle there. It's everything we've kind of been talking about the last half hour was in that play there. That to me was maybe the most fun sequence because you see him in control of that line, like identifying everything, calling out the changes, and then executing a touchdown pass. chef's kiss right there. That to me is like what you want, and that's like if you're Matt LaFleur and Tom Clements looking back on the Senovich too. Let's not take him out of the equation there too. That has got to be everything you've wanted him to be, and that was just pretty. I got to imagine up in Gutekunst's box, there was some high fiving going on.
Well, I heard, or I didn't hear, but I saw Matt Schneidman, who covers the Packers. He said, I think it was that play, because he said when it went to 20-0, the announcer in the press box had to remind people there was no cheering. and Matt said, I don't know if the guy, gal, or whoever knew who they were, but he said the people that were cheering was Goody and the Packers brass in there after that play. Like they were just going nuts in the press box after that.
You know, if Dallas is up 20-0, that place is there are people up there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look at Jerry Jones's box, and now granted he's not in the press box, but
right. Yeah.
It's
just he said one of the more comical things from yesterday was at that moment, and it was actually Goody and the Packers that were
I can't imagine what happened right after the pick six happening
right
after that.
Right. Exactly. But you talk about Goody and that, and I was talking a little bit earlier. There's one guy that should be kind of like keeping receipts and tooting his horn right now or feeling really good. Goody got to be that guy now.
Oh yeah.
I mean the draft class, Jordan Love, a lot of his decisions right now are like, this is why I did it.
Packers can't draft wide receivers.
Yeah. I mean, good Lord. Yeah,
it has really. I mean, there's been.
He has set the bar so high now for draft classes that we're going to expect everything like this class.
Defensively, there's been some struggles on some of the drafts, but I mean, offensively, you almost have to just apply. Not even like drafting, just signing guys and finding, Bo Melton.
Yeah,
a guy who gets drafted by Seattle but doesn't make the squad, and coming out now in his first year.
Yep,
and putting in just great minutes. I mean, it's not a hockey game, but it's what it feels like. Almost like he's getting his shift and doing a good job.
Well, it feels like every game, every week, it's been a different wide receiver though, too.
Yeah.
It was Romeo, which surprised me. Romeo Doubs' first 100-yard gain in his career was yesterday.
For a guy who's kind of been,
Mr. Consistent almost, it feels like, So he had a game. You didn't really hear Jayden Reed or Bo Melton in the game yesterday, and those were two guys you heard a lot about the last couple weeks. Dontayvion Wicks had the touchdown catch over there too, but it's just like, and I thought Greg Olsen made an interesting point in the telecast where he was talking about the Packers. They don't have that number one wide receiver. He said, because they're spreading the ball around. He's like, that's great for a quarterback. It makes it a little bit harder for a play caller, because you can always okay, we got to get the ball to this guy.
Devontae, where Devontae's going to be.
Yep, exactly. He said, but for a quarterback sense, you don't have that pressure. Like, okay, I got to get it to that guy.
Right. You don't have somebody calling his names, like saying I'm open all the time, and maybe a CeeDee Lamb situation like you had with Dak.
Right.
In the first half there.
And it just, I'm not. You've been in the locker room, but it just seems like from the outside, this wide receiving group though too genuinely feels like they root for each other.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody who's they all want to get the ball.
Right.
But I think they all want team first success.
Yeah.
And that's, this day and age in the NFL, it's usually you have one big guy and then, the cast of characters around him. But I hope it stays like that. And who knows? I mean, maybe they're too young to care.
Yeah.
That's where it kind of, that's why with this team, it's like they're too young to care about a lot of this stuff. And, a lot of this stuff has entered their head. They're just thinking, we're in the playoffs.
Right.
I'm in my second year in the league, first year in the league, and we're in the playoffs.
Right.
That's all they're thinking, which is great to see. Now, years down the road, that might change, but for right now, it's lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. And was it after the Vikings game? I think what reporters were saying, like Dobbs and Watson were just going nuts for Bo Melton. Bo Melton was getting the attention.
They loved it.
And they were like recording him and just going nuts for him. And it's like, yeah, maybe it is because they're young and foolish and they don't know anything better. Maybe it'll develop after, maybe a guy kind of rises above and becomes that number one. But it honestly kind of still reminds me, though, too, like when it was Jordy and Randall and James Jones, you had a couple guys really, but that was a group that you could tell genuinely like supported each other, too.
You really do see it in the locker room. I was thinking like back to after the Bears win is, we were talking to Quay Walker and Stokes. His locker's right next to him, and Stokes took one of the ladders. It was our ladder that we were using to get. We weren't using it because we were right in front. And he's standing up on the ladder, looking at Quay doing his. And it's just like these guys generally are rooting for each other to find success, and that's great because you have a lot of interaction. And Jordan Love and all the receivers have talked about how they've had this interaction and how Love has the meetings and gets everybody together.
Yep.
That is, as a coach, that means you're not forcing this on these. These guys are taking it on their own to be a team together.
Yep.
And when things start going right, that instantly makes it a lot easier to coach these guys. And I think, when things were going wrong, and maybe you want to, you look at Rasul Douglas and how that was going.
Yep.
I think they knew that was like, okay, let's just get Rasul. Rasul's a good player and people love him, but I think it was taking a toll on Rasul.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, okay, we don't want this to spread to other guys. And he was gone.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was because Rasul's a bad guy. I think it was just one of those, he's an emotional guy, but you don't want him spread emotion to other guys.
Right.
And he went to Buffalo and it worked out for both teams, really.
Right. It did.
And then, even like the handling, I think they actually handled the Jair thing very well, because that could have been an ugly situation.
Mm-hmm.
Jair could have shut down.
He could have.
And just said, I'm done.
Yep.
Instead, he's, photobombing live shots.
Yeah.
And coming out there and battling through an injury to get on the field and making a big play there. I mean, I think Matt LaFleur has just done a great job with that locker room, and that goes to Brian Gutekunst too, for getting the right people in the places for a team to be playing way over their age.
How, when you look at it statistically, because you mentioned a name that I don't think we've talked a whole lot about this year, and you look at last year and compared to his numbers this year, and a lot of similarities, but at the same time, Quay Walker this year, just how important he has been, but I think kind of quietly maybe important for the defense. There's 118 combined tackles. He had only one last year. Caveat is he's played 2 fewer games this year because of injury. I mean, you add those on, he's probably got
would have been over
that easily.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, after rookie year, he ejected twice, very emotional. And it was Jair who kind of took him under his wing, apparently, in, meditation and, kind of called him there. But that guy this year, just how important he's been for this defense.
I think Quay's your quarterback on the field there. I mean, he's really, he's a guy out there who kind of sets the tone. When he's having good games, and you see the rest of that defense seems to be having good games. When he struggles, it's kind of the same way. But he's made it a point, and he was saying this after the Chicago game too, is like, I'm trying not to get too high, not too low about things. I'm trying to stay in that middle zone there. I mean, I can be excited, but I don't want to be overexcited. And that's growth.
Yeah.
That's growth of a player after seeing what happened last year and him getting big penalties and bad situations for the Packers, to coming back and being like, okay, I got to control myself.
Yep.
And I think he's done, for the most part, a really good job of that. Most of the time on the defense they have, you'll get one of those penalties. They had a couple of scruffs, battles.
Slayton at the end yesterday, thrown down. There's a couple Badgers mixed in there with Ferguson and Biotic over there.
Yeah, but, I don't know. The Badgers against the Packers, TJ Edwards with the Bears, too. There's a couple of scraps there.
Yep.
Yeah, I credit to, it's going off the time, but Jake Ferguson, I mean, what a year he had for Dallas, establishing himself as one of the top tight ends in the league, and just he was the biggest playmaker for that team that game. So you saw a lot of growth from him this season. I don't know if anybody. I mean, he had big games when he was a Badger, but he's
nothing that Well, I don't think anybody expected it.
Second like Owen Daniels though too. Like I remember Owen Daniels had a great career in Madison. Then he went to the Texans and just had an amazing career. So I think it's kind of the same thing.
Yep. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the Matt LaFleur's post game in the
just
locker
a little
room.
bit. I didn't see it.
I loved the one, and this is the one that everybody's kind of clipping, because he goes through the highlights of the game, right? Whoever got, Aaron Jones 3 touchdowns and all that, and Luke Musgrave stayed on his feet and just that probably got the loudest cheer from everybody. But again, I think it, the connection in the locker room,
right?
Everybody, a lot of people texted us, said Matt LaFleur doesn't have the locker room. He's lost it in October.
Right.
You don't know that. We don't know that.
No.
I don't think he's lost that locker room one bit.
No. I think you see, especially after, again, a lot of mine are for being at Lambeau during that Bears, just seeing the feed into the locker room. I don't think he's lost that locker room. I don't think Joe Barry lost any of his players. I think Joe Barry, those guys have been, supporting him the whole time too. Were there doubts? I'm sure there was doubts that crept in when they were 2-5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it had to be any team, but really, the way they've turned it around and knew they were close, and then just to have the run they've had here the last 2 months,
Yep.
it's been pretty amazing.
You know, to go back to the Jair thing too, and I think you're exactly right. I think it was Kenny Clark can't remember who was talking to him after the game, but he talked about Jair and how much he means to this team and that. But yeah, a lot of other guys, getting suspended for a game, they could have shut it down, or they
Right.
could have completely. And he comes out and says, "Yeah, I got to be more professional." That lasted a day, but that's because he's having fun.
Right.
He goes in after that Bears game, and what he said, it smells like a casino. He's got a stogie in his headband, and then the Monday after, he's photobombing a live shot
Yeah.
outside Lambeau Field and all that. He could have easily done it, but that speaks, I think, volumes to to not only Jair, but what I think, views that franchise, views that team
Right.
as well. And I think he has a lot of respect for LaFleur, that coaching staff and his teammates over there too.
Yeah. I think, obviously he knows he should have went about it a different way
Mm-hmm.
than just taking over the coin toss.
Right.
And I think he learned from that. But you got to let him also be who he is. You
Mhm.
don't want to trap in that personality, or things might go wrong. Like you said, he could shut down or something like that. But he's a guy who likes to play loose.
Mhm.
And I think we saw him come out there, test that ankle. I mean, that's the thing. Like him to be a game time decision,
Yeah.
maybe probably hurt it a little bit again later in the game.
Right.
But that pick is huge. Like you set the tone with that interception,
Yep.
and in that offense coming back out there and just getting another touchdown. I mean, everything about that is what you wanted to see with Jair after a situation that could have went south quickly.
And I think he's gotten an effect on these younger secondary members because if you kind of I saw Anthony Johnson do it yesterday, the rookie safety. I've seen Carrington Valentine do this a few times. They emulate his celebration.
Yeah.
So I think he's kind of got some sway, or those guys look up to Jair in that.
And it's
locker
crazy
room.
because Jair's not very old.
Right.
But he's one of the veterans in that defense.
Yep.
It really is. I mean, it's crazy to think that he's almost in that Charles Woodson role on that team for the defensive backfield, but that's because he's one of the few that's been there over a year or two. It's
right.
Just an amazing array of talent to get to where they are right now.
Yeah.
With the relative lack of experience they've had.
And I was trying to think because, it's like, oh, it's McCarthy going up against his former team. And I'm like, okay, but how many guys are still there?
Right.
It was Aaron Jones. Jair was his rookie season.
Yeah.
When McCarthy's. I can't remember.
David Bakhtiari, who wasn't even,
right.
not playing.
Not Preston, because that was LaFleur's first year. I'm trying to go through the list there. Was
Kenny Clark?
Kenny Clark, that would be one. The other one was Elton there?
Oh man,
I think he was.
He might have been.
I think he was a rookie that year because he was a second round pick after Jair. I think, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah.
So Elton, but again, those guys are rookies.
Much. Yeah.
So there really isn't that connection, really, besides Aaron. And I know people are having fun with it too on social media, thanking Mike McCarthy for keeping Aaron Jones's legs fresh. Those first couple of years there too. So, but really, there isn't that. There's so much turnover. There really isn't that much connection.
No, especially because if your team's going to be the youngest in the NFL, that means you're not carrying much veteran. And I have to say, like, if you take Bakhtiari out of the equation for how young that team is, it's really young.
Exactly.
So, yeah, there wasn't much, but I think there had to be still a special thing to know that you're going against the guy who used to be the coach, took him to a Super Bowl, and got the title. And I think for McCarthy, it's probably where it hurts more, is to lose against a team that you want to beat so badly.
Yeah. And we're all human. We have that same thoughts, and at certain points in our lives, regardless whether it was a middle school or high school or something like job wise or something like that, you want to beat them. It doesn't. I did think it was kind of interesting where he did admit this week that last year's regular season game,
right?
He's like, yeah, we got to approach it a little bit differently. Well, it didn't matter, I guess, at this point. But
I feel honestly, I kind of feel bad for Mike McCarthy, but he knew the situation he was getting into with the Cowboys. It's the highest pressure. I'd say in the NFL, it's the highest pressure job in the NFL, regardless if they haven't won anything since '95. Still, it's the Yankees.
Yep.
It's the Yankees or Dodgers at this point. Dodgers of the Major League Baseball. Like, they're the team that everybody's looking at. They're the Lakers. It's that that team in the NFL, that's why they're worth the most money.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's kind of Mitch said that too a little bit earlier. I kind of feel bad for McCarthy with Jerry Jones. I don't think anyone can win it until he gets his hands out of the football operation.
Right. Which isn't going to happen.
No.
As long as Jerry Jones is up in that box,
yep.
he's going to have his hands in football operations. And I don't know. I don't know what their next step is, but it might be Bill Belichick. Could Bill Belichick coexist in that situation?
That's what I wonder. And then you start seeing, this is what I always kind of like, okay, this is so like, how did nobody say this before? So like, whether it's the Ian Rappaports or the Schefters or the Tom Pelisseros, there was one that I saw that over the last few years, and they even threw a year at there, may have been since 2016 or something like that, at owners' meetings, Belichick and the Joneses have made it a point to come together and like really talk and get to know each other, and they've developed their relationship over the years. And it's like, now you throw that, like, where was this? Where was this early? It's like you're just, I'm going to save this and pocket this for 7 years or however, because you never know.
Right. I mean, like Robert Kraft obviously is a very hands-on owner too.
Right.
So it's not like this wouldn't be unheard of, but does Jones give Belichick free reign for personnel?
I don't know. And this was from Darren Ravel too. It's like, okay. Soon after Bill Belichick was let go from the Browns in 1996, he ran into Jerry Jones at a ski resort. I can coach, Belichick told Jones. If you ever get an opportunity, don't forget about me. Jones said on the radio in 2019 that he has often thought about that conversation.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, the guy won 6 Super Bowls, and you haven't won one since that era.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, well, look what Belichick's done, and then you can revisit that. Like,
there's a lot of teams that I think he was probably in the mix when the Packers were hired Holmgren. If I'm not, I might be mistaken there.
Mm-hmm.
Parcells had just left.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, reading Ron Wolf looked at Parcells, and I think it was because his heart issue, he had a health issue.
Yes, yep.
And that's why he didn't want.
He was like doing TV or something for a year or two before he went to the Patriots.
Yep,
so,
exactly.
I mean, I'm sure Belichick. There was a possibility. I can't remember what the whole Cleveland situation was at that point too. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams that can do a what if.
Right. It's like the draft picks too. It's like, well, so
yeah,
a lot of those late draft picks, like, a lot of teams could have, unless you're
Donald Driver. Every team could have had Donald Driver.
Yeah, every team could have had Tom Brady too. Until
is it crazy how with the coaching changes this week, how they're all kind of in a way like the big names that left with Carroll, Belichick, and Saban all have like these weird little connections to each other.
Right.
Because Carroll left and then Belichick took his job.
Yep.
And for the Patriots.
And even like Saban replaced Carroll at Ohio State as secondary coach back in the day.
And Saban and Belichick were on the same coaching staffs. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I guess in coaching, if you're in it that long, your paths seem to cross as much as it was. But it was just kind of crazy reading all these little, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon stuff with these guys. So.
And then now there's talk that after today's game, depending on what happens with Pittsburgh, Tomlin's apparently going to step away and think about stuff before he commits to next year. That's your longest tenured guy.
Yeah.
Then it's John Harbaugh after that. I mean, it's a change. Matt LaFleur is like tied for 7th or 5th or whatever for longest tenured coach.
When you have 6 coaches getting canned every year, it doesn't take long for that turnover to just round its way to where now you're one of the guys who are long in the tooth now.
Exactly.
It's nuts. I mean, if Tomlin leaves, Bill Cowher to step back in. No, gosh.
That's the thing, though, too, is like if Tomlin leaves, does that job almost become the most attractive because of their stability? Like they keep coaches.
Yeah.
It's Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin. Does that almost like, regardless of talent, does a coach look at that like, hey, they're going to give me a shot, though, for a few years. It's not going to be like, if it doesn't work out, they're going to be patient a little bit.
But then again, you don't know anymore.
Right.
I mean, there's guys getting canned all the time now in the first years.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Reich. I mean, you hire a guy and fire him that quickly. It's I feel like Tomlin will be back.
I do too.
I know there was a lot of criticism for that, and he lost that team, but in the end,
still got 10 wins and he's back in the postseason.
Right. Every year.
Yep.
So I don't know if Tomlin's a guy who could end up with the coaching record if he stays with it.
Well, here's my question then. Like, if Tomlin is available, would you rather have Tomlin or Belichick?
Oh, boy, that's a tough. I would
like
probably
if you're
go
the
Tomlin.
Cowboys. Yeah.
I think Tomlin seems to be more of a fit.
Mm-hmm.
with the Cowboys than really Belichick would be.
Yeah.
And Tomlin's a guy who you can probably have more years.
Mhm.
Belichick's 70,
70 something. Yeah.
I mean, all those guys who retired,
Which is still weird. Pete Carroll's technically older than Bill Belichick.
right. It's because Pete Carroll always seemed like he was just younger than he was. Even when he first, like, he looked like he was in his 20s when he was first coaching in the NFL. So,
yeah. And I mean, when you're taking off your shirt with DK Metcalf in the draft process and you're still ripped, you know, you look a little younger than.
I don't know how those guys stay in shape doing that. And that's, I mean, when Belichick did his presser last week at 7 a.m, you know, he just slept on his couch in his office. There's no way he was like out and about. It went home and came back at like 5.
Yeah, no, he didn't do that.
Yeah,
I mean, no way.
The life these guys lead, I don't know. It's amazing, like how they can.
I'm sorry, but live as long as they're living too.
Right.
You know, and they're not getting burnt out to do this. I wish I had that passion for something.
They must be taking time to like do something. I mean,
they must be able to shut it off when they can go shut it off.
Yeah.
Like when Bill's on his boat fishing with Jimmy Johnson, he must be able to. I still wonder if he can shut it off, though. It's Bill Belichick.
Right. Is it like just get out of. And I think, you know, me and you probably. People are like, well, why? You know, so we'll watch sports.
Mm-hmm.
But there's times where it's just like.
I can need a break.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yep.
You know, did you watch that game? It's like, nope. I've watched a lot of games this last week. I'm just gonna shut it off for a little bit and then come back when I want to do it.
So I will say this. You know, I haven't said this publicly, but there's a lot of times when like I'm out or somebody runs into me. I don't mind talking about something else besides sports.
I'll always talk about it.
I'll always do it, but that's like, yep.
Yeah.
You want to talk about something else? Yeah. Not politics, though, please.
No,
into that.
No, anything but that. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Bigfoot sighting that we saw in Colorado, like 6 months ago or something. Like
exactly.
That. Oh, all right. So before I let you go, I got you over a minute here. Do they keep it close Saturday nights? Packers 49ers.
I think they do.
9.5 underdogs already.
I think they can beat the spread.
Yeah.
I think they can do that, but. I'm not going to discount them, and again, it's going to come out. How do you start the game?
Mm-hmm.
And if they come out and can get points on the board right away, and that defense can maybe get a couple shutdowns. I mean, if you got to just take what the blueprint was against Dallas, do that, but even almost ramp it up more because San Francisco, I think, is a more talented team all around than Dallas is. So,
and I think again to go back, we know Shanahan will be like, okay, if they struggle against the run, I've got no problem handing it off 50 times.
Right.
Because that was one of the things I thought is like, okay, is McCarthy going to stick to the run if they have success? Because that's kind of been a question mark, right? You know, well, then it got out of hand where they had to pass.
Right. And I would say that was a big thing. The Packers took that out of the equation.
Right.
You're playing from behind, so you start getting a little desperate and calling more pass plays. So, yeah, I mean, if you can set the standard right away and just keep the foot on the accelerator, you can't let off against San Francisco. You'll have a chance. It's going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
I think San Francisco is the favorite team for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to discount this Packers team with the youth and the excitement and the way they're playing right now. Mm-hmm. No one wants to play them. So set the tone early, get that offense clicking, and the defense needs to make some big stops. It sounds like, it's basically how you win any football game, but.
Can we have a similar stop Barry Sanders in the postseason, -1 yard rushing sort of?
Yes. Oh, I mean, that's huge. I mean, that's kind of, you look back on, those are the kind of games that set the tone for your team in the future.
Yep.
Yeah, this would be one of those, if you can control Christian McCaffrey and anybody else running the ball there.
Gosh.
But it's going to be tough.
Hey.
That San Francisco team is just loaded.
We get to talk about it for another week, which if you'd have told me 2 months ago, I'm like, no. We'd be talking postseason.
We'd be talking how the Badgers are undefeated.
Probably
in Big Ten
maybe
play.
top 10 now in news rankings with all the upsets.
We will talk about them, though. Don't worry. It'll come.
Dame time with that 3-pointer at the end to have a nice little bow tie for Wisconsin sports yesterday.
Yeah, but it kind of shows you what runs the ship in Wisconsin is the Packers, and if it's playoff Packers, they're number one.
Yep, exactly. So, all right, JC, we appreciate you braving the cold and
no
coming in, man. So, maybe we'll talk about another victory Monday next week.
I'll see.
If we talk about another victory Monday next week, I think everybody's like, okay, it's Super Bowl now.
Right. Now the confidence is going to be through the moon.
Through the moon, over the top.
To the moon. I don't know.
Through the woods to grandma's house we
There
go.
you go.
All right, buddy.
Or my
appreciate-
mom parents' house in there in Arizona desert next to Las Vegas, if anything would work out perfect.
Ooh, look at you already pre-planning. I like it, man.
The house is there. It's just a matter of getting.
Dib's coming with you. Just saying. All right, buddy. Appreciate it, man. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more after these quick words. Thanks to JC Nisi, Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire, for hopping on with us here this morning, chatting a lot of green and gold, obviously, with the big W from yesterday. We'll have more about Packers and 49ers as we get to later on in the week and such, kind of previewing this matchup and hitting that up. But today we've got a little Victory Monday, celebrating this one until we actually get to the get a little bit closer to the game coming up on Saturday, which, again, if you haven't heard, that game between the 49ers will be on Saturday nights, Fox 7:15. So Packers getting that Saturday night game. Kind of looking at maybe the rest of the schedule. We're going to make some picks here for the last two games coming up in just a few minutes. Got to take another quick break here because we went a little long in that first one there, but that's okay. But the games for next weekend, if you're kind of maybe doing some planning, maybe you're going to do a little party at the house or something like that. But Houston at TBD, obviously. They will have the first game on Saturday again. So they had the first game on Saturday this past week, so they'll have the first game on Saturday. That's going to be on the mothership, ESPN and ABC, it looks like. And then Green Bay visiting San Francisco Saturday night. And then Detroit will have a 2:00 game. Is it 2:00 game? The first game on Sunday. That's going to be on NBC. And then obviously depends on what happens with Buffalo and in Pittsburgh this afternoon. That other AFC game will be over there because it could be Houston visiting Baltimore. Could be that. If the Bills win today, it would be Houston at Baltimore, and then Kansas City visiting Buffalo, since Buffalo is a 2 seed. If Pittsburgh wins, then it would be Houston at Kansas City. Yeah, if Pittsburgh wins, then it would be Houston at Kansas City, and then Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Right? Yeah, I'm doing this all off my head there. So, NFC side of things, and then, of course, whoever wins tonight between Philly and the Rams, that winner goes to face Detroit. So the only game that we know for sure what the matchup is Green Bay taking on the 49ers, because the 49ers taking on that the lowest seed remaining, which Green Bay becoming the first 7th seed in history. So okay, we'll take a really quick break here again, then start to wrap things up here. We got a couple picks here. Who you rolling with? Play along with us. Who you picking for today? Gonna go another upset. Pittsburgh over Buffalo. Finally gonna get the game in this afternoon here after all the snow that they were getting. And who do you got between Philly and Tampa? Can Philly start to maybe kick it into gear here a little bit? They were looking like one of the top teams in the NFL throughout the majority part of their season, but kind of floundering there a little bit at the end ever since they lost to the 49ers, where they got dominated 42-19. Then they got dominated by the Cowboys 33-13. Then they lost to the Seahawks 20-7, bounced back and beat the Giants 33-25. But then they lose to the Cardinals, then they lose to the Giants. And before that loss to the 49ers, they had wins against Cowboys, Chiefs, and the Bills. They were close games, but they got W's in those games. And, earlier in the season, they'd beaten the Dolphins too. What version of the Eagles are we going to see tonight? That's probably going to be the big question over there. So who you got? Play along with us on picks. Don't forget, you can do so online yet too, because we got those weekly pick'em challenges up there, brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. We'll update some of those picks, or some of those we'll make more picks, or we'll add some more games on there for you to make picks after the postseason. So that'll probably start tomorrow. We'll add some Bucks games and maybe some Badger games in there, along with the divisional round games as well. So we'll take our final break on this Victory Monday. Back with picks. Who are you rolling with? We still got more games of football today, starting this afternoon between the Bills and the Steelers. Do we have another upset potentially today? Time to make some picks and predicts. Brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. Hey, you're looking for somewhere to catch a game? Packers, Niners. Got the perfect place to go to. You got some 49er swag up on the walls over there at the Elbow Room. And you got some Packer swag up on the walls over there at the Elbow Room too. Got the perfect location for you to catch that game Saturday night if you're looking for somewhere to catch it up over there. Let's start off with college hoops though first, because we got Marquette, who's in action 2 nights, going up against the Wildcats of Villanova. So Marquette right now on a 2-game losing streak with losses against Seton Hall and Butler. So right now this is in Milwaukee. Marquette's 6.5 favorite. It's an afternoon game, by the way, too. So got nothing else going on, or you want to watch some hoops, 1:30. I'll go Marquette. Villanova's 11-5 so far this year, 4-1 in conference play. 6. With Marquette losing their last 2, I think they come out. I think they bounce back, and I think they get the win tonight or this afternoon, excuse me. So I'll go Marquette. I think they cover as well. Let's go to the NFL now. So the line has actually moved up a little bit more in favoring Buffalo. Buffalo, 10-point favorite. 10-point favorite. The Buffalo Bills, 11-6 overall this year in the regular season, taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were 10-7. Buffalo 7-2 at home. This game being moved to this afternoon. Originally, it was supposed to be the first game yesterday, but because of all the snow in the region and such, wasn't safe to go out there and play or have people travel to go watch the game. So, but Buffalo, Buffalo's going to win. I just don't know about that 10. I feel like, you know what? I feel like this is how it's going to go. I feel like Buffalo's going to win. And I feel like it might be a little close at the beginning. Kind of similar to the Miami game last week, Buffalo and Miami. And then Buffalo maybe just kind of in the second half kind of runs away with it. So I'm going to pick Buffalo, and I think I'm going to take I think they cover. I know Gabe Davis is out. I think Buffalo's going to cover on this one. Barely, like by 11. It's not going to be like 20 points or anything. I think Buffalo covers by like 11 or something like that. So then we've got Eagles at the Bucks. Eagles are favored by 3. This is the nightcap for tonight's game. No A.J. Brown for the Eagles in this game. No A.J. Brown. Baker Mayfield, he is listed as questionable, but I would expect him to play. A little banged up there with the ribs going on. This game is so hard to pick. Like, what version of the Eagles are going to come out and play this thing? Like, what version of Philly is going to come for show up for this game? That to me is the biggest question mark here. I'll pick Philly. I'll pick Philly to win this game. I think it's close though. I think Philly wins by like that 3, where that line's at 3. I think Philly wins it. Not having A.J. Brown is a big loss for this offense. A lot, and Jalen Hurts dealing with that finger injury too. There's a lot of pressure on this team. There's a lot on the shoulders. I know there was some talk this past week from talking heads out there that if Philly loses this game, could their head coach be on the hot seat? Could he potentially be out? I mean, this is a Philly team that was just a couple plays away last year from potentially winning the Super Bowl. They were one of the best teams throughout the entire league up until maybe the last month or so. And now there's talk about could their head coach maybe be on the outs if they lose this game. I don't think that'll happen. I think there's going to be obviously some changes within the coaching staff. The Matt Patricia move, I don't think has been a big help for this group. But I think the Eagles squeak out a victory. I think they squeak out a victory, and they will be traveling to Detroit for their divisional matchup against the Lions. If that's the case, Oh, never mind. It's because you'd have 2 NFC North teams left, an NFC West, and 1 NFC East team in the postseason there. So, all right. Just got a couple minutes left, a few minutes left to the top of the hour here. So again, 3:30 for that Pittsburgh Buffalo game. That's going to be on CBS. Then 7:15 kickoff for the Eagles in Tampa Bay. You want to watch a little Marquette action tip off? It looks like is at 1:30 today. That's going to be on Fox over there. If you want to catch some hoops before catching a little football on the telly. So you got those in action tonight. Bucks picked up the win, as we mentioned a few times, thanks to buzzer beater 3 downtown Dame time. Damian Lillard hitting the 3 as time expired, a deep 3-pointer to get the victory over the Kings. Last night, kind of a nice bow on the top of a good day in Wisconsin sports yesterday. Bucks having a good weekend this weekend there. Moving a little bit closer to Boston, still a couple and a half back from first place in the Eastern Conference standings, but holding on to that second spot in the Eastern Conference standings. Badger Hoops also picking up a win against Northwestern over this past weekend, excuse me, with a lot of the upsets from this past week of ranked opponents being ousted or losing to unranked opponents. Maryland beating Illinois last night. You add that on to this list. Just in this past week, we've had number 1, number 2, number 3, number 5, number 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 17, 19, 21, 23, 25, all lost to unranked opponents this week. That's how crazy college basketball has been in the past few days here. Could all that, with the Badgers remaining undefeated in Big Ten play, up 1.5 games, could they crack that top 10 with the latest polls coming out here? We shall see. But, yeah, not a bad weekend for some Scotty sports, right? So, all right, tomorrow is a Rays Place What's Your Beef? I don't know if you've got a lot of What's Your Beef for your favorite sports teams right now, because things are going for the Bucks, things are going for the Packers, things are going for Badger Hoops. So if you got something else, maybe, it's kind of grinding your gears a little bit, what's your beef? All right. It's the Rays Place. What's your beef Tuesday? If you've got those certificates, make sure you use them, because they expire here in a couple weeks. All right. So think about what's your beef, so I can get that in the mail for you tomorrow if we select you as the winner. Okay. If we select you as the winner, think of a good one so we can get that in the mail and go visit Ray's Place. Go get yourself a free hot beef or ham sandwich if you are a winner with that certificate, and then get a side of the Spanish stew. It's flipping awesome over there, especially with the weather that we're having. That'll feel pretty good, having a hot beef or ham sandwich with a little side of the Spanish stew over there. Ooh, yeah. So we'll hit that up tomorrow. Speaking of Badgers, we'll catch up with RJ Cardinal. Plenty of Badger talk with him. Badger hockey, we'll catch up on that. We'll catch up on the latest with the transfer portal with the Badger football program. And then we'll start to kind of take a look at Packers, 49ers tomorrow. Okay. 5 reasons why the Packers will beat the Niners, and 5 reasons why they will lose. Might be a little bit easier for their 5 reasons why they'll lose. I don't know, but the 5 reasons why the Packers will beat the 49ers. That's your homework assignment. Okay, kids? 5 reasons why the Packers will upset the 49ers on Saturday night. Think about that, and then when we hit it up tomorrow, send me those top 5. Continue on with your Victory Monday. We got another one. Or hopefully we'll have another one next Monday. Now we focus on the 49ers starting tomorrow. Stay warm. Stay safe. Let's do it again. Thanks for all the texts, tweets, and comments. I'm sorry if I didn't get to all of them. Let's do this again tomorrow, 6 a.m.